opportunities present themselves, as responsibilities come and opportunities for more responsibilities, help me to know what is from you, what is from other people that are just kind of pressuring me because maybe they know I always say yes. With all the things that come my way, just help me to discern what ones are the ones you want me to get done, and help me to be gracious and loving and yet bold in saying no to the other opportunities. And so we can learn through prayer and through, the guidance of the Holy Spirit to order our days in a way that pleases God, that doesn't neglect people, but that doesn't cross that line in letting everybody else set the agenda for us. And that only leads to frustration. We're frustrated because, we feel like we're not really living our best life for God. We're too busy being at everybody else's beck and call. And then sometimes we stretch ourselves so thin that the people we say yes to and we help them with something, we don't do a very good job because we're running around trying to do too many things. So it's all about really being prayerful and careful and intentional in ordering our days in a way that pleases God and yet also does serve others.
You're right, and we do feel pulled and stretched in so many directions, but one of the things we talk about a lot on this show, Karen, something I struggle with, is screen time. And day 8 is about being the boss of your screens, and we say we don't have time, and yet I don't know how the Lord worked this out, but somehow every Sunday morning as I'm going into church, that's when I'm going to get my screen time notification. And it's always such a conviction for me. We think, I didn't have time to talk with you longer today. I didn't have time to pray with you. I didn't have time to, really sit down and hear your heart on that or just spend some time with you. And yet we look at our screens and we've given ourselves a part-time job in managing that. When we look at how many hours per week, if somebody came by and said, yes, how your busy life, could you work 12 hours a week outside the home? You'd say, no, I can't possibly fit that in, but somehow you can fit that in.
サンドイッチ全部食べた。
食べて美味しかったよ。
あ、全部食べた。今日はペルーの先生。
よかったよ今日は。
ちゃんと動けた。
いつも新しい違ったレッスンするからいいよなかなか。大勢いたよ。
挨拶した。
挨拶したよ。
向こうからしてきたの。
そう。
よかったね。じゃあ私が来た時はもう終わってたの？終わってたの？
終わって来たばっかりだって。
スチーム入った？
だから入って出てきたとこ。
notification and not carrying it around with me 24/7 has helped me to break that habit of just constantly checking our phone. You know, experts say that we pick up our phones over 1,000 times in one day. We're picking it up to check a text, you're picking it up to send it. Yeah, and even if it's past that, I mean, it's still 500 times a day that you're like, just reminding me. And we also feel like, this is the biggest one for me, like there's something, Jessica, in that little screen that I hold in my hand that is more interesting than what's going on in my real life at the time. And we sadly let it interfere with our relationships. Do you know that just the presence of a cell phone, say if you and I were going out to coffee, I'm not on my phone, but I have it there facing me, face up, just that presence of the phone will affect our relationship, because you're going to feel like in any second something is going to trump you, and something's going to be more important to me than talking to you, because I got my phone there, just waiting for somebody to meet me, you know, somebody to talk to me to it. So it's really changing not only how we spend our time and how our brains are wired and our attention spans, but it's also affecting our relationship.
I'm so glad you talked about that. And I know it's one day of this journey, but it is a big day. And for some of us, it's bigger than others. This is something I really struggle with, especially just the nature of my job, my ministry, what I do. I feel like I'm always tethered electronically, and I've had to really be careful about putting those boundaries up. I have the same boundary as you. We don't have phones in the bedroom because it just encourages isolation. You just stay in there by yourself. You're not interacting with the other members of your family, and you don't realize how much time is there. Plus, I mean, you could talk about all of the health benefits, like even before bed, that blue light screen actually suppresses melatonin production, and then you're wondering why you can't go to sleep, why the blue lights are bothering your eyes. Well, it's because your body's not signaling you to make melatonin. And really interesting from my perspective as a researcher, and I've talked about this before, Karen, we actually call that phubbing, P-H-U-B-B-I-N-G, phone snubbing. And when you have, like you were talking about, that phone present at the meal, if you're eating out with a friend or have a family over, or you're just eating with your family at home, it actually negatively impacts digestion. Just having that phone there on the table, because it causes feelings of tension and anxiety, and it's just kind of there. And we've been talking on this show ever since January. Every week we've introduced a new healthy habit for families, and so many of those revolve around tech. There's so many things that you can do to reprioritize your use of tech, and part of it is not carrying it on your body all the time so that you're distracted by every notification, because you pull it out and, oh, it's this game score, let me look at that, and oh wait, I got a new email, and oh wait, I have a new social media notification, and then all of a sudden you're, you know, again, like all of a sudden you spent 47 minutes on Twitter. Oh, I'm not judging, because I do the same thing, but I think that's really important. And this all goes back to intentionality, and you give an example in this book about being a recipe, and you say that, you know, for many of us, we don't have a real recipe for life, and you give a story about a cake, and you say instead of living out our days with forethought, attention, and intention, we simply just take life as it comes, reacting to what's thrown our way and hoping for the best. Why are we doing this, and what should we do about it?
Yeah, if you were assigned to bake a cake for your best friend and you had no recipe, you just kind of went to the kitchen and started throwing things together. It's not going to turn out
not be good.
very good. But that's what we do with life. You know, we know life is made up of responsibilities, relationships, tasks, jobs, people, you know, family, friends, neighbors, all of this. But we don't have any plan. We just kind of take life as it comes, kind of living in a reactionary mode all the time. We just react to whatever happens today, rather than being intentional. And I don't want to make it sound like we want people to be so intentional that they have a strict, rigid schedule that doesn't allow any wiggle room at all. I remember being at a function with my kids. It was a homeschool field trip. And somebody asked a woman if she could drop a child off on her way home, because it was more in her direction than the direction this person was going on. And that person had something come up where they needed to scoot out of there really fast, but they had promised to give this child a ride home. Well, the woman they asked said, well, that's going to mean I go 1.7 miles out of my way, and I don't have time for that in my schedule. I need to be home by 4:30 because at 4:35 I'm going to start cleaning my oven.
Whoa.
Whoa. Your schedule is so strict and rigid that you are going to put cleaning your oven before giving this child a ride home. You know, we don't want to have such a strict, rigid schedule that we never waver from it and we just tell people no, no, no all the time. But on the other hand, we don't want to be so loosey-goosey, just letting people interrupt our time all the time, just reacting to whatever's thrown our way and not have any plan. That's not good either. I like to encourage people to have a flexible routine, not necessarily a time schedule, you know, that's super strict, but a flexible routine that allows for interruptions from God and ministry to others. So you've got that routine down, you're intentional about what you need to cover in the day, you've got your getting out the door in the morning routine with the kids, or your before bed and doing homework and bath time or whatever routine with the family. You've got your work routine at work if you work outside the home and there are things that need to be done inside the home. You've got your routine, you've got your best practices, but you're flexible and you allow for interruptions from God. You're not so strict that you're tied to a time schedule of cleaning your oven at 4:35.
That has definitely never been me, but it is all about balance, Karen. You know, we can't swing too far one way or the other. But when we come back, I want to pick up this conversation and talk about some days that are in section 2 of this book and why finding time for yourself today will make all the difference tomorrow. I also want to ask you, Karen, about why multitasking is killing our progress. I think multitasking is one of the biggest lies that we tell ourselves, and we'll talk more about that when we come back. See you on the other side of this break.
Thoughts of the child you were carrying keep pouring over in your mind. A deep, unrelenting sadness overshadows your days, and you wonder if you will ever feel whole again. There is hope and healing from a reproductive loss. Call the International Helpline, 866-482-LIFE, and talk with someone who has been where you are. Your call is confidential, and we will help you find healing. 866-482-LIFE.
What we believe about the Bible is based on what we believe about its source.
The God Who Speaks, the award-winning documentary from the American Family Association, is now available in a special limited edition DVD set. This release includes a Sunday school curriculum and 2 hours of additional footage. Go to thegodwhospeaks.org to get your copy today. thegodwhospeaks.org.
Ferdinand finds hope. Hey, it's Michael Woolworth with Bible League International, and I was introduced to Ferdinand, who lives in Burundi, Africa, the world's poorest country. You could tell this man was malnourished from birth. He was very small for his size, and I found out his widowed mother became a prostitute to make ends meet and even forced her own children to steal. A Christian friend invited Ferdinand to come learn about Jesus, and when he became a believer, his mother kicked him out. But she saw Ferdinand's changed life, and she wanted Jesus. He would go on to introduce her to the hope of the gospel before she died of HIV/AIDS, and hundreds have come to Christ through this incredible story of tragedy and hope. Hey, God is truly at work in His world through His Word, and we want to bless 4,000 Bibleless believers around the world by the end of October. AFR listeners, you've been the answer to 2,000 to this point, 2,000 to go at $5 a Bible, $100 sends 20. Every gift match. Will you call 800-YES-WORD? That's 800-YES-WORD, or give at sendbiblesnow.org. That's sendbiblesnow.org.
Danny, the baby just rolled over for the first time. Oh, what a strong little boy.
That a boy, son. You're on your way.
Oh, who's my strong little baby?
Rollovers can be milestones in life, some early on and some later. One rollover you might consider is from your individual retirement account to a charitable gift annuity with the AFA Foundation. If you'd like to increase your retirement income and leave an impactful gift to the work of American Family Association, the charitable gift annuity is a worthwhile option. To learn more, contact the AFA Foundation at 800-326-4543, extension 345, or email foundation@afa.net. If you own an IRA, would like to increase your charitable giving, but need retirement income, the IRA to CGA rollover may be 3543, extension 340.
By Bethel Music and Jen Johnson, and my kids know I want that on my obituary, that all my life God has been faithful, and He is faithful to answer. He is faithful to do more than we can ever ask or imagine, and He can help you have a life that you love. We're talking today to Karen Ehman. She's a New York Times best-selling author and Bible teacher with Proverbs 31 Ministries, and we're talking about her new book today, written with Ruth Schwenk, The Love Your Life Project. 40 days to prioritize your passions, cultivate productive habits, and refuel with times of rest. Now, you may or may not know this, many of you I'm sure do, but 40 days actually is a very significant number in Scripture. It has a lot of biblical significance. It's mentioned about 146 times in the Bible, and it represents a time of trial and preparation for great change. So God flooded the earth for 40 days. The Israelites wandered in the wilderness for 40 days. Saul, David, and Solomon each reigned for 40 years. Jesus fasted for 40 days and nights. There were 40 days between Jesus's resurrection and ascension, and Goliath even taunted Israel for 40 days before God sent David to the battlefield. So maybe this is that 40 days for you. It's 40 days to love your life. That can have a real biblical significance in being intentional to prioritize your passions, as Karen is encouraging and challenging us to do. So Karen, I want to go back to, we're in section 2. This book is divided into 4 sections, and section 2 is finding the proper perspective. And I want to go to day 13 about finding time for yourself today. And I really want to talk to all the moms out there, because this is something that moms in particular really struggle with. We often put ourselves last. We put our own needs last, sometimes to the detriment of our families. Why will finding time for ourselves today make all the difference tomorrow?
Well, we need to realize that, God has made us with both a body and a mind and a soul, and we need to tend to all of those and not neglect our bodies, not neglect our souls and our spirit, in order to be fully present and to be fully available and capable of doing the things for the people in our lives who depend on us. It's such an overused example, but it's the old, secure your mask first before assisting others that we hear when we're on an airplane, because you're no good to anybody else. If you can't breathe, you don't have oxygen, how are you going to help anybody else? But especially for moms, we just think we've got to fall into that mommy martyr syndrome and just be doing everything for everybody else and completely neglecting ourselves. And I'm not talking necessarily about putting a spa day on your calendar every week, although I have nothing I have a spa day now and again. I'm certainly down for that. But it's more just carving out that time to prioritize your own mental health, your own spiritual health, your own physical health, getting good quality and adequate rest, exercising, eating right, taking care of your mind, spending time connecting with God, praying and memorizing scripture.